From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, death toll from offensive on terrorists in Zamfara rises as military warns residents to stay indoors. APC presidential candidate meets organized labor, promises pension reforms, others. Labour Party presidential campaign DG Doyin Okupe imprisoned for 2 years over money laundering charges. Away from Nigeria, Ghana suspends payment of part of its foreign debt, including Eurobonds. Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust Television. I am Ayuba Ila. Thank you for joining. And now the details. Death toll from the attacks on invading terrorists by military continues to rise after days of intensive offensive on armed criminals and troops and vigilantes. Residents of the troubled community said over 68 persons killed have been buried and about 40 others sustained injuries. Reports say that military had warned the surviving residents in the villages to remain indoors. More troops are being deployed and heavily armed soldiers in armored vehicles have rolled into Ansado community. The report.
According to the locals, the military airstrike engaged in a gun battle with the suspected terrorist for 2 days at Malele community, which forced the terrorists to retreat and hide in the community. Saidu Ishaka is one of the residents of the community who escaped the air bombardment. He narrated that he fell down twice because of the vibration. When he stood up, he saw several dead bodies lying on the ground. He confirmed that 68 members of the community killed in the incident have been buried, while 12 out of the 40 injured were brought to Yeriman Bakura Specialist Hospital in Gusau.
Everything all started like a drama. People left their business places. After some days, we heard a sound, and people began to run for their lives. I heard a sound, and due to the vibration, I fell on the ground. And afterwards, I saw so many dead bodies on the ground.
Another resident of the Ansado Emirate said the terrorists mobilized other groups to launch attack on the Malele community when the military promptly responded to distress call with fighter jets.
So the incidents had happened on Saturday when an invitees of bandits tend to overcome Malele 124 community because they deny consensus with the bandit leaders. So they attempt to fall on them and clear their community in order to have a franchise or the right for them to interact and cross the community area with their cattle and then to continue with their normal activity.
The Zamfara State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, retired DRG Mamman Tafe, urged the military to speed up efforts to weed out the suspected terrorist.
Visit and assess those victims who happened to fall on the recent action of the military on bandits. I can see there are some casualties, some people who sustained several degrees of injury, and I'm very sure the chairman of the local government and his member are here trying to respond to whatever request. The statistics is still going on, and we want to be accurate. It's going on.
The 12 victims of the incident who were brought to Yeriman Bakura Specialist Hospital in Gusau for immediate medical attention have been badly wounded in the attacks.
Daily Trust correspondent in Zamfara, Shehu Umar, gives an update on the incident.
We earlier reported about the incident of attacks in the last 48 hours in the troubled Ansado Emirate of Madu local government area of the state. The death toll from the attack has hit 101. 68 people were buried in Mutinji community, 27 in Malele, and the 6 were buried in Nansadao community. At least 57 people are currently responding to medical treatment in different medical facilities in Gusau, the state capital, Nansadao, and even the assaulted community. In the attack, several houses were destroyed, burned out vehicles and houses, motorbikes have become a common sight in Mutunji, more especially the residential houses there. Apart from this, locals have reported seeing massive deployment of troops. There was a report this evening that heavily armed soldiers in battle tanks have rolled into Nansadao community this afternoon. The military has warned the residents around those villages to stay indoors. And I think from what we are gathering here is that the residents have understood the message from the military.
Now, a joint security operation led by the Bauchi State Police Command has neutralized 12 suspected bandits and kidnappers in 4 different hideouts, including Mansuru, Digare, Guana, and Dajing Madam in Al-Kaleri Forest, Bauchi State. The Command Public Relations Officer Ahmed Wakil, who disclosed this to newsmen on Monday in Bauchi, said the notorious bandits Kingpin Madaki Mansur, who has been terrorizing Al-Kaleri local government area and other neighboring states of Taraba, Plateau, and Gombe State, was also neutralized during the operation. Wakil, who noted that the weapons and operational motorcycles were recovered during the operation, added that the command is intensifying efforts to apprehend the fleeing members of the syndicate. Now, no fewer than 37 people have been reportedly killed by bandits during fresh attacks in Kaura local government area of Kaduna State. The attacks took place separately on Sunday night at Malagun 1 and Sokong communities of Kagoro Chiefdom in the Kaura local government area of the state. Although the police authorities are yet to confirm the incident, the Speaker of Kaura Local Government Council, Atuk Stephen, said that the bandits carried out the coordinated attacks at about 11 p.m. on Sunday, where they killed 37 people. He also said that the bandits burnt down over 100 houses, destroyed many vehicles and motorcycles during the attack. According to him, all houses in the Sokong community were completely razed down by the bandits, while the entire area has been deserted. Meanwhile, Kaduna State government has condoled the Malagung and Sokong communities in Kaura local government area and directed the State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, to urgently provide relief materials to the communities. Scores of passengers were feared dead after a speedboat conveying traders capsized on River Niger at Bagana in Omala local government area of Kogi State. The Omeye of Opanda Umaisha Kingdom, Usman Abdullahi, confirmed the incident on Monday. He said those affected were people from his kingdom, including some Hausa traders and scavengers who were returning from Bagana market to Umaisha. A relative of one of the deceased, Ibrahim Antani, who is a native of Umaisha in Toto local government area of Nasarawa State, said that the incident happened around on Sunday when the canoe conveying over 47 passengers capsized. He said that the victims, who were mostly traders and natives of Umaisha town, were returning to Umaisha after attending a local market in Bagana. Meanwhile, the Kogi State Police Command's Public Relations Officer, SP William Aya, who confirmed the incident on Monday in Lokoja, said it happened on River Benue. And now, on political matters, presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Tinubu, says he will prioritize reforms in the pension and mortgage systems in the country if elected president. Tinubu, who made the promises at a party with the organized labor and civil society in Abuja, also says his administration will have zero tolerance for corruption by making life affordable to the people. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
Responding to demands of the organized labor, the APC presidential candidate says addressing the plight of workers and the ordinary people, in addition to deploying technology, is a panacea to tackling corruption in the country. He also highlighted his past record of fighting corruption while serving as Lagos State Governor, lashing at the PDP for spending $16 billion without fixing electricity problem in the country.
There are so many poor families in Lagos alone. Nobody paid for any examination fee before I left the office. No one, no matter how poor you are, you can't drop out. No one is left behind. Now you have a federal government. Put me in charge. There will be student loans. 4 years course will be 4 years only.
Tinubu says reforming the nation's pension administration and creating an effective and affordable mortgage system will provide relief to the Nigerian workforce, while assuring of setting up agricultural processing zones in the country to make it attractive and profitable.
We must do more to address the social needs of workers and improve the wages. We must do more to support housing, pension, mortgage reforms, like it has been already mentioned by Comrade Oshiomhole. Why do you get employed now for 30 years job and they make pension contribution, and it's time to put a shelter on your head? They ask you to bring 8 to 10 million deposit.
Leaders of the organized labor said their members across the country will align with social progressives to move the country forward.
See, one important issue, which I think is also important to every Nigerian, is the issue of the quality of education that we have today. It's so unfortunate that as we speak, 20 million of our kids are out of school. That cannot be acceptable, and I think that should be a concern. If we breed a group of people that are uneducated, then we are breeding insecurity, we are breeding also social instability in our country.
Today, the minimum wage is 30,000 naira. As when this was negotiated, and when the implementation started in 2019, what was the value of dollar? What was the real value of this 30,000 naira? But today, that 30,000 naira has depleted in value. Today, 30,000 naira cannot even pay our transport to work.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, APC governors, former NLC Chairman Adams Oshiomhole, amongst other party chieftains, attended the party. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
A federal high court in Abuja has awarded a 13 million naira fine against a former special advisor to the president on public affairs, Doyin Okupe, over the diversion of arms funds from the office of the National Security Advisor. Justice Ijoma Ojukwu convicted Okupe in 26 out of the 59-count charges preferred against him by the EFCC. The judge further slammed a sentence of 2 years for each of the 26 counts to run concurrently, or an option of 500,000 naira fine for each. The judge further ordered that where the fine is not paid by 4:30 p.m. on Monday, Okupe will be sent to jail. The judge said that the decision was arrived at after listening to the plea for leniency by eminent Nigerians, including former governor of Anambra State, Chukwuemeka Ezefe, DG of the National Orientation Agency, Idi Farouk, wife of Okupe, Omolara, and his son.
It was corruption. To pay money, to collect money, that's enough. It's corruption. What we do as that payment, you don't want to pass through the penalty because you don't want it to be traced. You don't want to be traced. That's the essence of just collecting the cash money. That is corruption. That is fraud. we thank God. Dr. Doye Kupe is just a victim of a honest mistake and a victim of circumstance. He was found not guilty from of count 1 to 37, which borders on money laundering, fraud, corruption, and misappropriation of the monies he took from the office of NSA. But he had issues when it comes to count 38 to 59, which provides that he was guilty of an offense for collecting money in excess of 5 million, which is the permissible threshold under the Money Laundering Act.
Now, Court of Appeal Abuja has declared Lawal Usman as the authentic candidate of the People's Democratic Party for the Kaduna Central Senatorial District. The appellate court also set aside a federal high court decision which ordered a rerun election that brought in Ibrahim Usman. Delivering judgment, the three-member panel led by Justice Peter Afen held that the lower court, which ordered election rerun, had acted outside its jurisdiction by interfering with the internal workings of a party. A federal high court sitting in Kaduna had nullified an earlier primary election held on 23rd of May 2022 and ordered a rerun within 14 days. Justice Umar of the Federal High Court, Kaduna, had delivered a judgment in favor of Ibrahim Usman, who challenged the victory of Lawal Usman in the PDP Kaduna Central Senatorial primary election. Ibrahim Usman had been declared as the winner of the People's Democratic Party rerun primary for Kaduna Central Senatorial District after polling 210 of the valid vote cast. Independent National Electoral Commission has convened stakeholders summit in Abuja to address rising influence of money in the electoral process. Noel Samson reports that Police and Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and other critical stakeholders attended the summit.
The summit is coming 68 days to the presidential and National Assembly elections. It is part of the preparation for a free, fair, and credible election.
The negative role of money in elections goes to the very heart of our democracy. It destroys the very basis of democratic elections, which is that citizens should freely choose those who exercise power on their behalf. It renders the emergence of the right candidates for positions extremely difficult.
Of course, use of money cannot be totally ruled out in the conduct of elections because money is needed in propagating ideals of political parties and of candidates.
The law enforcement agencies also gave assurance of cooperation in fighting against the issue of vote buying during elections, calling on all political parties to play by the rules.
I therefore want to urge all Nigerians desirous of a better future not to be cajoled into relinquishing their rights to good governance, but to make deliberate and concerted efforts aimed at informed choices when casting their votes. We must collectively work together to ensure that the narrative around the current practice of deceptive election as that will not only translate to the flawed political recruitment process, but will result in a great disservice to our dear country, Nigeria.
Concerted efforts are being made by the Nigerian police as lead agency in the electoral security management to ensure that the use of money is not allowed to influence the 2023 general elections, or at least ensure that this menace is brought to the barest minimum.
Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, Balarabe Ilya, warns media houses against giving politicians platform to insult other politicians.
I use this medium to admonish the broadcast stations again to be wary of money thrown to them. I enjoin you to accept money for campaign coverage and political advertisements in strict compliance to this provision of the rules.
There have been disturbing reports of politicians buying permanent voters' cards considered critical to free, fair, and credible elections, which play a critical role in political transition by advancing democratization and encouraging political liberation. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Nigeria's Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Pauline Tallen, on Monday decried what she called systematic women phase-out by political parties in the country from taking part in electoral contest. The minister raised the concern while delivering the scorecard of her ministry at the ongoing ministerial series anchored by the Ministry of Information and Culture in Abuja, the nation's capital. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
Tallen, who spoke about the milestones achieved by her ministry in the last 7 years through various women empowerment initiatives anchored on sustained advocacy, also decried what she called marginalization of women on the political front.
My heart bleeds. I'm not happy with all our political parties as far as women issues are concerned. Our political parties, all of them, are not fair to women. It's not that we don't have qualified women to contest, but along the way, everything takes place within the party structure. If you are not within the party structure in the party secretariat, you will be phased out.
The minister is also worried over the rise in gender-based violence in the country, calling on the Ministry of Justice to work towards speedy conviction of perpetrators of violent acts against the feminine gender to serve as deterrence to others, just as she makes case for the rescue of abducted girls in the hands of terrorists.
It is not the ministry that persecutes, it's the justice. Ministry of Justice is our courts. We are calling on our courts to please, in the name of God, treat pending cases so that the victims will have succor.
The Minister of Information and Culture had, on the sideline of the briefing, clarified claims around the lifting of suspension on a social blogging site, Twitter.
7 days after the suspension, precisely on June 11, 2021, we received a letter addressed to Mr. President from Twitter's Vice President in charge of public policy, Europe, Middle East and Africa, Sinead McSweeney, seeking to meet with us on the Twitter suspension.
Nigerian government, through the ministry, also made public communications between it and the owners of the microblogging site to support its claim. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching the News Hour on Trust Television. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at why marriages are delayed in Gombe. Details of this and more after the break.
On Chibok Girls, did you read this 7 years ago? Did you know this fact on Chibok Girls, published on June 24, 2014 as a cover story by This Day newspapers, a sister to Arise TV when Senator Kashim Shettima was governor of Borno State? Chibok abduction. Presidential panel indicts military, absolves Borno State government. June 24, 2014. The Presidential Fact-Finding Committee on the Abduction of the Schoolgirls in Chibok, Borno State, in its report submitted to President Goodluck Jonathan last Friday, indicted the military for kidnapping of 276 female students from their school. According to a source on the committee, the report by the committee led by late Brigadier General Ibrahim Sabu, retired, came down heavily on the military for not responding to intelligence reports before the attack on the Chibok community and the abduction of the schoolgirls over 70 days. The committee, which advised the federal government to keep its report classified for the sake of national security and so as not to jeopardize the release of 219 schoolgirls who remain in captivity, also said in the report that the military also failed to respond to the attack on Chibok because soldiers were ill-equipped and ill-motivated. Also, contrary to expectations, the fact-finding committee absolved the Borno State government of complicity in the kidnapping of the schoolgirls and failure to provide security at the government secondary school Chibok. Yet, political mischief makers manipulatively used the Chibok abduction in their ethnic profiling of Kashim Shettima. Signed, Newi Integrity Group for Tinubu Shettima.
Jama'a ga wata muhimmiyar sanarwa, hukumar raya birnin tarayya Abuja da haɗin gwiwar dukkanin harɗawa shugabannin rigage na Fulani da ƙungiyar Miyatta Allah reshen birnin tarayya Abuja dukkaninsu suna bayyana damuwarsu akan yadda waɗansu mutane suke sakin shanu suna kiwo sakaka a birnin tarayya Abuja. Don haka hukumar raya birnin tarayya Abuja da ta kare muhalli ta birnin suna sanar da dukkanin al'umma tare da gargaɗi akan cewa an hana kiwo na shanu da sauran dabbobi da tsuntsaye a cikin birnin domin suna haddasa bata muhalli da kuma cunkoson ababen hawa a cikin wannan birni. Saboda haka duk wanda aka samu ya karya wannan doka zai fuskanci hukunci, kasancewar akwai gurin da hukumar raya birnin tarayya Abuja ta ware domin kiwo a cikin su. Don haka tabbatar ka bi doka ka kuma haɗa hannu da hukumar raya birnin tarayya Abuja domin tabbatar da tsaftar wannan birni. Wannan sako ne daga hukumar tsaftace muhalli ta birnin tarayya Abuja.
Ba a iya sutura da abinci jin daɗin duniyar mu ya ƙare. Za ka iya more rayuwarka da kayan alfarma na kamfanin Vento Furniture kamar su Ladi Corner Sets, Escape Sofa Sets, Acadia Sofa, Piano Sofa Sets, Sofa Corner Sets, Vento Sofa Sets. Sannan kuma za ku iya saka ƙayatattun gadaje na alfarma a ɗakunan kamar su Gold Cream Bedroom Sets ko kuma ku wadata falon ku da kujeru na alfarma irin su Sare Royal Set da Acadia Dining Sets. Ofishoshinku kuwa za ku iya saka manya-manyan kujeru na kece raini domin walwala da jin daɗin ku da abokan hulɗa. Kamfanin Vento Furniture ya tanadar muku gadajen bacci na yara masu inganci, kayan ɗaki irin na angwaye da amare har ma da sarakuna. Muna da shagunan mu a gurare kamar haka: 79 Allen Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos; 7A Azikiwe Road, Port Harcourt; 25 Glover Road, Ikoyi, Lagos; Shop U1 Jabi Lake Mall, Abuja; da kuma 4330 Walker Road, Windsor, Ontario ga mazauna ƙasar Canada. Vento Furniture mun zagaye ko ina.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
This is the News Hour on Trust Television. Here's a look at the top stories again. Death toll from offensive on terrorists in Zamfara rises as military warns residents to stay indoors. APC presidential candidate meets organized labor, promises pension reforms, others. Now, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has assured the people of southern Kaduna of maximum security. He stated this during his interaction with the people of southern Kaduna in Kafanchan, the headquarters of Jama'ah local government area. Atiku Abubakar, who also commiserated with the people of southern Kaduna on the recent killings, explained that security is not only affecting southern Kaduna but a national phenomenon. He said that the people should expect restructuring of the police, creation of state police to supplement the Nigeria police. He promised that southern Kaduna will feel the presence of federal government if he is voted into power. The presidential candidate met with the Muslim clerics at Jama'ah Central Mosque in Kafanchan and met with Christian clerics at Throne Room Trust Ministry. The Vision Pioneer Throne Room Trust Ministry Apostle Dr. Emmanuel Kure urged all the watchmen to hold hands and pray for the success of the country's 2023 elections. Speed limit violation is a source of worry to the Federal Capital Territory Directorate of Transport and Road Service. The Directorate wants road users to adhere to traffic rules while on the road throughout the Yuletide period. Kabir Lawal has more.
Movement of people increased during festive period as people traveled to celebrate with loved ones. Eze Joseph, in charge of the FCT Directorate of Transport, cautioned drivers to adhere to traffic rules, noting that the Directorate will not relent in arresting traffic rules violators.
Some people look and scare us about VIO. The penalty we give are not the way the society looks at it. Sometimes we go corrective. If we see them certain things that public don't know, we correct you in that aspect, warn you on that aspect, and allow you to go. As the first person or the first offender on that particular issue. But if you are caught in next time, we will give you a punitive correction. Punitive in the sense that we feel the pains not to do it again by fining you on that particular offense you committed. Like you see it, I know this is in Bamut. I don't need to be questioned or be told by my zonal or by my director or my DD Ops what to do. They know I can do it better. I have to be here early and ensure and align officers on the road to make sure the traffic flows very well, especially at this Bamut. Like you see my officers, no arrest is going on. They make sure that there is free flow of traffic, and that will help me as well when the traffic is going very well.
A cross-section of car owners have said the command should be considerate in taking punitive measures, as it is everyone's responsibility to make the roads safer.
They should also be considerate. They should be considerate. We are all human beings. You know, we, the driver, when we are waiting, we will think the line is long, that the motor, there is a challenge somewhere. We are not seeing there. So them that are seen there, they should also be patient with us, and so that the whole work will move.
They should attach some fine to this effect, and then make sure they stamp on it, stand credibly, to make sure okay, the fine that is attached to this effect, they should do it. If they pay that fine, whoever is doing all these calibers of lifestyle, they will, you know, manage the whole thing. They will reduce their overspeeding.
There are some people that will not comply. That is one is very sure. But you as a human being, you will follow them gradually. Sometimes we will come and start to educate them. As traffic have stopped them, please don't speed. Speed kills. Don't drink while driving. It kills. Don't overtake where you're not supposed to overtake. Please don't put on your phone call because it distracts you are driving. All these things we educate them, especially on this Imba mode, because it's person that drives today that loses tomorrow.
The Directorate believes cooperation of security agencies and drivers is imperative in making the roads safer. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
11 females have been reported dead following an auto crash along Kano-Zaria Expressway. The accident, which occurred on Saturday evening around 5 p.m., involved a Toyota C20 bus and a Hilux van. An eyewitness explained that the incident was caused by overspeeding. Meanwhile, efforts to rescue the victims were thwarted due to a ravaging fire that engulfed the vehicles. In Katsina State spent hours to buy fuel at filling stations dispensing the product at the government-controlled price, while major marketers sell the product at 195 naira per litre. Independent petroleum marketers sell at between 310 and 345 naira per litre. Abdullahi Ahmadi reports that hike in the fuel price is affecting the prices of other essential commodities in the state. The report.
Some fuel marketers say they buy petrol from independent depots who sell above government-approved prices. This, they say, informed their decision to sell at higher rates. Motorists spend productive hours on queues, while racketeers sell the product at about 400 naira per litre. The difficulty is getting unbearable. People are suffering untold hardship. We are confused and can't understand what the government means by punishing us with high cost of petrol and its scarcity. Majority of us are low-income earners, if not poor, and every step taken by the government is making us poorer. The motorists want the government to intervene by making petrol available to all its NNPC outlets across the country. It appears as if things are getting out of hand because, as it is now, the situation of the country is getting to a point where only God knows what will happen next, because you can't predict anything. But one thing is certain, people are suffering. In spite of all assurances by authorities of availability of petroleum products, citizens continue to grapple with the scarcity. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Traders at the Mile 12 market, whose shops were demolished by Ikosi Isheri Local Council Development Authority in Lagos State, have cried out over the loss of their investments. Those affected by the demolition at the Red Bridge section of the market said that they were not given any notice. Abbas Ibrahim Alibi reports.
The traders alleged that the chairperson of the Ikosi Isheri LCDA ordered thugs who stormed the area in their company of security operatives to demolish a section of the market. A victim, Usman A. Salu, said he woke up early on Thursday and noticed that hoodlums had invaded the area, removing shop roofs and causing destruction. He said, "We just saw them removing the roofs of our buildings. Majority of the people living in the area are Hausa traders from the north." Another victim, Fatima Folabi, disclosed that she was told that someone has purchased the place as the LCDA has sold the area. She said if that is the case, they should have given them time to remove their belongings from the buildings. Also, Abdulaziz Bomiwa, who operates a POS center, said his shop was burgled by the hoodlums and that he lost property was 2 million naira.
We are showing ball, we are doing some business, and we have other shops outside that are doing POS. They disrupt everything, they just broke in. So you understand, without our own consent, please, they were supposed to be automated. We give you guys 3 months to pack our stuff. There's nothing, they just come over, they disrupt everything, they loot all our things. Both the gates, my shops now, I lose millions of naira because I'm doing POS. Before I come in the morning, they just remove the gate, remove everything. They loot what I have inside the shop.
The victims have therefore called for justice in the matter.
So what we are appealing for now, the state government should just come in, and because we are fighting for justice now. Even though they want to remove the market, well, this country, there's law that back everything.
All efforts to reach the woman leader of the market and the chairperson of Ikosi Isheri LCDA were not successful. Abbas Ibrahim Alibi, Trust TV, Lagos.
Now, the presidency says it will not take responsibility for the current economic predicament and multidimensional poverty affecting over 133 million people. The senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, said this in a recent interview with Trust TV in Daura. Abdullahi Amadi has more.
The presidential aide said rising inflation is a global phenomenon and that Nigerians should be grateful for the country's quick exit from economic recession occasioned by coronavirus pandemic.
And in our own case, our tragedy is that well we are oil producing, but in terms of consumption, we import nearly everything we need of refined, petroleum products. So if the prices abroad are high, then it will affect our own economy. And you know how the effect of energy crisis, of prices they affect everything. Transportation, heating, food industry, everyone is affected. So Nigerians cannot now be isolated. Anybody who says that this is due to Muhammad Buhari, then they are closing themselves in a shell, and they don't want to open up to understand what is happening globally.
While citing example with Russia and Ukraine war as one of the major causes of food and energy crisis, Malam Shehu says the federal government has applied measures to cushion the effects on both urban and rural poor.
Even as we are affected along with all the nations of the world, we must also give credit to the administration for putting in so many measures in order to ease these hardships. For instance, the retention of subsidy on petroleum products. If the government was to remove it today, the cost of product in the country will multiply 3 or 4 times over. So you can imagine what it will be like. We have a social investment program which has cushioned the effect of poverty among the rural poor and the urban poor as well. For the first time on the continent, you have a country running a social investment program. No other country in Africa is doing this.
On insecurity bedeviling in some parts of Katsina State and other northwestern states, Garba Shehu blamed informants and other local collaborators for the incessant terrorist attacks. He, however, maintained that the Buhari-led federal government will see the end of insurgency in the northeast and terrorist attacks in the northwest before it winds up in 2023. The SSA is also optimistic on the actualization of 10 megawatts Lambarimi windmill electricity and dualization of Katsina-Kano Road projects. Abdullahi Ismail Crossed Television News, Katsina.
The high cost of living in the country has affected virtually every sphere of life, with relationships not spared, as some eligible bachelors are blaming their inability to get married to the harsh living conditions of today's Nigeria. From Gombe State, Trust TV's Ibrahim Ismail reports that some young Nigerians in that state are lamenting how the high cost of living is affecting their relationships. The report.
35-year-old Sani Jibrin is an information technology specialist based in Gombe. He is built to get married in barely a month's time. With the current economic hardship in the country, Jibrin said things have become complicated.
Because whenever you engage yourself in marriage, you have to provide all the needs for the family, and in this situation, which is the current situation, the economic situation we are now, Gaskia is very hard now for the family man to provide, because everybody now can see, before we are buying things cheaper like rice, which is commodities, but now things are not being the same for long now. And the money that we are earning, we are getting now, maybe you are earning maybe 50,000 a month. I don't think that 15,000 naira will sustain you for the month, you and your family, even you alone.
He believes that most unmarried youth in the country cannot afford to cater for a family because of the high cost of living.
Before you can plan a wedding with with 1 million naira, now you can't. 2 million naira cannot do that for you.
Nora Sunusi is 32. He is yet to get married due to the current economic hardship in the country. With the current economic condition, if you don't have a job, you can't marry because you can't keep a wife with nothing to feed her. Although some unmarried Nigerians blame their status on the high cost of living, other married couples say they are managing life with the little they have.
The idea of them, they should rise up, either you are a Muslim or you are Christian, follow the real religion, and always entering imam or pastor to advise you and make sure that you look for a job. Before you get a job, my youth of nowadays, they didn't respect their elders.
The Northeast region, which has the poorest population in the country, is again at the receiving end of crashing relationships as marriages are hitting the rocks due to the harsh economic condition in the country. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
We'll now take a quick break. The news continues shortly. Join us again.
2012. Why was terror suspect Kabiru Sokoto at Borno Governor's Lodge under Kashim Shettima? The Cable revealed how Boko Haram kingpin plotted to kidnap Shettima's children at Borno Lodge, July 15, 2022. Kabiru Umar Sokoto, the convicted Boko Haram bomber, was hatching a plot to kidnap the children of Kashim Shettima, then governor of Borno State, when he was arrested in January 2012, a confidential memo has revealed. Sokoto was the mastermind of the Christmas Day bombing of St. Teresa Catholic Church in Madalla, Niger State, which killed at least 37 people and injured 57 others. He was initially arrested at the Borno Governor's Lodge in Asokoro, Abuja, on January 14, 2012, before he escaped from police custody and was rearrested a month later in Taraba State. In a confidential security memo dated Thursday, June 14, 2012, that is just coming to light, Sokoto was reported to have infiltrated the Borno Governor's Lodge in a plot to kidnap the children of Shettima, who had relocated them from Maiduguri, Borno State, to Abuja for safety reasons. According to the memo, which was submitted to the presidency, Shettima, who had spent barely 8 months as governor, had been warned that Boko Haram was plotting to kidnap his children for ransom. Shettima, who is now the vice presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress (APC), decided to relocate them, 2 girls and a boy, to Abuja and enrolled them at Turkish and British schools in Wuse 2 and Gwarempa. To be kidnapped for 1 billion naira ransom. The memo suggested that Sokoto was planning to kidnap the children on Monday, January 16, 2012, on their way to school. He was arrested by the police after spending a night at the lodge. Shettima had moved the children, all below 10 years old, at the time to Abuja in December 2011, about 2 weeks before the foiled kidnap. He had relocated them from Maiduguri on the advice of security officials, and there were suggestions after Sokoto was arrested that some of them might have links with Boko Haram and were obviously passing information to the terror group. Boko Haram was said to be planning to demand a ransom of 1 billion naira, which was valued at $6.3 million at the time. Whereas Kashim Shettima is the victim, he is still being maligned by political mischief makers for ethnic profiling. Signed, Newi Integrity Group for Tinubu Shettima.
Welcome back from that break. Now moving on, President Muhammadu Buhari on Monday expressed appreciation for the goodwill messages and wishes he received on the occasion of his 80th birthday. He said, however, in a jocular manner, that his wish for a quiet day had been denied by the staff, even when he intentionally tried to avoid the celebration. A statement from the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, said President Buhari waded across the room, reading one card after the other, and thereafter ordered everyone back to the office. The President participated in meetings and other duties throughout the working hours in his office.
Happy returns of the day. Long life and prosperity.
Your Excellency. Your Excellency, you are once more welcome to Your Excellency for especially approving the equipment of that brigade. That will really help us in securing the Villa environment, the Abuja complete Nasarawa State, and parts of Niger State, Your Excellency. We also want to thank you for always approving our logistic requirement and at the right time, Your Excellency. We are very grateful to you. We also finally want to thank you for approving the promotion of some of us here. You're being the chairman of the Army Council. Two of us were lucky to be promoted recently, Your Excellency. We are very grateful to you, Your Excellency. Once more, Your Excellency, happy birthday.
My good God. It's a beautiful card. That's right.
Let's take it one more time.
It's time now for us to join Chamung Dabeng for Business Update.
The federal government, through the Debt Management Office, DMO, raised 3.06 trillion naira from the bond market in 2022 as a result of the necessity to finance the budget deficit, according to the results of the Debt Office's monthly auction. An analysis of the auction results indicates that the total amount borrowed for FGN bonds in 2022 will be 2.71 trillion naira, 13% more than in 2021. Budget for the federal government for 2022 was 17.32 trillion naira with a 7.35 trillion naira deficit, which leaves room for 6.1 trillion naira in fresh borrowing. According to the result of the monthly auction, DMO had requested 2.48 trillion naira in the bond market, but received 4.65 trillion naira instead, more than a 53.22% oversubscription. Pension funds administrators, PFAs, participated more in the FGN bond market in 2022 as rising inflation reduced stock market investments. The Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria is hopeful that before the new year, the Central Bank of Nigeria will change its policy on cash withdrawal limits. National President of ANBAN, Victor Olojo, stated that the National Assembly has pledged to persuade CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele to change the policy. Giving an update on the matter, Olojo noted that the group has soft-pedaled on its planned legal action because of the assurance offered by the CBN and National Assembly that POS operators would not be impacted by the policy. He did, however, issue a warning that if the policy was not changed before the end of the year, its members will protest on the streets and sue the Apex Bank. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, international trade records manufacturers imported 1.88 billion naira worth of raw materials in the last 9 months. The figure, which was captured between January and September 2022, according to the Q1 to Q3 foreign trade reports, is a 22.36% decrease from the 2.43 billion naira they spent over the same time period in the previous year. The decline was caused by the country's lack of foreign exchange, which forced many businesses to source their raw materials domestically. Businesses that were unable to obtain their inputs locally were forced to halt operations. That's all for business news. I am Chamun Dabeng.
Now, away from Nigeria, Ghana has temporarily suspended the payment of part of its external debt, including Eurobonds, as it seeks to restructure it after an agreement with the International Monetary Fund last week. This measure aims to prevent a further deterioration of the economic, financial and social situation of Ghana. With historic inflation of more than 50%, the collapse of the local currency by 50%, prices at the pump that have doubled, and a debt whose repayment swallows half of the state revenue, Ghana is grappling with a serious economic crisis, the worst in decades. A statement announcing the suspension said that the move is an interim emergency measure pending future agreements with all relevant creditors. The statement added that the suspension affects a large part of the country's external debt, Eurobonds, commercial term loans, and most of its bilateral debts. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has been re-elected as leader of the ruling African National Congress Party, despite being mired in scandal and facing calls to step down as president. Delegates at an ANC leadership conference voted on Monday to keep Ramaphosa as head of the party, with 2,476 voting for him and 1,897 selecting his rival, former Health Minister Zweli Mkhize. The result was welcomed by the president's supporters, who burst into celebrations as the results were announced in Johannesburg. Last week, he survived a vote to start impeachment proceedings against him after a parliamentary report said he might have broken anti-corruption laws by keeping large undeclared amounts of dollars at his farm and failing to declare their theft. And Ramaphosa's victory paves the way for him to run for a second term as president in 2024. And now in sports news, we'll join Adeni Ajishafe for more updates.
The Secretary General of Senegal Boxing Federation, Anta Gueye, has listed Nigeria among the countries that will take part in the African Zone 2 Boxing Championship in Dakar, Senegal. 15 other nations, including Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Gambia, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Togo, and host Senegal will participate among others. The championship will involve a one-star certification course for coaches, referees, and judges. And on football, World Soccer Governing Body FIFA has released the official ranking of teams that participated in the just concluded 2022 World Cup in Qatar, with South American giant Argentina emerging winner of the competition after defeating defending champions Les Bleus of France 4-2 via a penalty shootout. According to the ranking, newly crowned champions Argentina is ranked first, followed by first runner-up France and Croatia in the third position. Atlas Lions of Morocco was placed in the fourth position after losing the third-place match to Croatia on Saturday. Morocco is the highest-ranked African team, as the Teranga Lions of Senegal is ranked 10th and second in Africa. The Indomitable Lions of Cameroon are ranked 19th and third in Africa, followed by the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia, who rank 21st and 4th in Africa, while the Black Stars of Ghana are ranked 24th and 5th in the continent. Host country Qatar came last on the ranking table after losing all their group matches in the competition. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And that wraps up the news hour for tonight. Do well to follow us across all social media platforms and also watch us live on YouTube. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.